Okay, I was about to say good morning. It's technically afternoon here.
It's good morning here.
There we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. This one is called Echo Chamber. My name is Kraken. I will be playing Craigory, Danthew-Dovran, who is not having a good time at the moment. And today here with me is...
Hey, what's up? I am Gail, uh, and I am also here. I'm going to be playing Memoir Alejo, formerly Memoir Beckford, who is also here.
They're both just here. So, to get us started, I assume we're setting this kind of in the barn. So, what has Memoir been up to since a broken message? How has Memoir been dealing with things and getting up to since broken messages? In my mind, this is kind of taking place like the night after. It's been about a day.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how long are we talking afterwards?
Yeah.
Because that how well Memoir is doing is entirely dependent on that, but also not really. Um, he's hmm. He's out of the manor, and that's probably for the best right now. Because I can assure you, at the very least, for the first night after they saved Gibbs, Memoir was being a mother hen
Yep.
because bird, mother hen, haha, funny. He was, very much glued to his friend's side, would not leave, but eventually they probably were like, okay, you literally cannot do anything. Please go chill.
And how is Memoir attempting to chill?
Attempting and actually somewhat succeeding, actually. Because he's processing shit in the same way he always processes shit, by going out to his barn in the middle of the woods and just working on a project and talking to it about his feelings. And in this case, it's worked because the feeling is, I feel like I can't do anything about this. I feel like I can't fix anything about this. And that really upsets me. So I'm going to work on fixing something. And he spent an entire day doing that, and now he's just kind of chilling at the barn because, okay, I got my feet under me, I got my brain together. Well, as together as it gets these days, because, we aren't 100% dealing with Memoir right now anyway. We got things covered, we got things under control. He is probably the most emotionally stable out of the squad right now, aside from maybe Decimal, because gestures.
Memoir has actually constructively dealt with his feelings and worked through them, which means within the span of like 24 to 36 hours, Memoir is doing okay. Hooray!
Yeah,
Give
it's
that boy a
amazing what
gold
you can
star.
do when you have an outlet.
Yeah, neat. Uh, a Memoir. Why don't you roll me a perception?
Perception, okay. There it is. Okay, perception, and there it is. That's an 11.
Okay. I think then it comes actually as a bit of a surprise when you hear a knock at your barn door.
Yeah, okay. I imagine he was probably, cleaning up the workspace, brushing aside some sawdust or whatever, putting all the varnishes back in their jars. And he hears the knock at the door and surprise blink, and he looks up and looks over.
The doors have not opened. Whoever's on the other side hasn't like taken the presumptuous liberty of entering.
I, I do inform you that
Are they open?
actually the door that you would approach to enter the barn is always open.
Okay, fair. In that case, the person has not actually stepped inside. Uh, that person is Craigory, who... Memoir, I think if you weren't aware of the time already, you probably quickly give a check on that. It's like the witching hours of the middle of the night.
It's like 3 a.m.
Exactly. It's 3 a.m. Craigory Danthew is knocking at your door, and your barn is in the middle of the woods. It is a trek to get here. He is very much not dressed for a midnight trek.
He is in his pajamas.
He is in his pajamas, and he looks cold.
And he can't transition walk like I can, and he looks cold, and oh boy, okay, no, we're not standing for that. And Memoir will kind of set down whatever random tool he had in his hands, set it down on his workbench, walk over, hold hands out to Craigory, and just, it's cold. Do you want to come inside?
And Craigory ends up nodding and stepping inside. Now that he's actually invited, he will enter.
Craigory vampire confirmed.
Craigory polite boy since day one confirmed. Polite except when he's not.
I was gonna say, I can think of several exceptions.
Contradictions in character, we love him. But he's inside now.
I'm gonna roll an insight on this man.
Yeah,
How's he looking?
and you have advantage. You have advantage.
How's he
this entire
looking?
FPS.
That's a nat 20. Give me your secret, square boy.
Fucking goddamn. Just for fun, because I know I have disadvantage on everything, because one of the things Memoir will be able to tell off the bat is this boy's running on, like, one level of exhaustion, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So just for fun, what does disadvantage performance give me? What's the right thing? Yeah, that's a 2. So,
Get
really
perceived, square boy.
extremely fitting. So, he is cold. Memoir, you weren't wrong about this, because it is, like, getting to be a bit chilly out, and it's 3 a.m., and these, like, little thin pajamas are not meant for this sort of thing. So he does, like, he is shivering a little, and he has his arms around himself, but it's not just because he's cold. He's kind of hunched in on himself like he's hurting. And he hasn't spoken yet, and he hasn't reached out an echo either. I think, actually, Memoir, you would notice he's not even wearing that earring you ended up giving him. That's missing.
Memoir kind of sits there for a moment, like looking this man over, just, oh boy, oh, you are in dire straits. Okay.
Yeah. Memoir with a nat 20, you can also pin that this very much is connected to that sort of almost screech of echo feedback you got from him when during the greater recall of getting away from Thrall.
Given that Memoir was right next to Craigory, and Memoir is a native echo speaker, yeah, he caught the tail end of that at the very least.
It was not directed at Memoir, but boy.
It was loud. Consequences.
Yep.
And Memoir kind of recognizes this, and then leans against the work table, kind of sitting back against it for a moment, and downstairs or upstairs?
think Craigory will glance around, then up and point upstairs.
Memoir nods in understanding, and you want to actually use the stairs, or do you want me to use the pulley system I set up?
I think Craiger said action tilted that. I don't know if you've seen the pulley system. He's admittedly curious about that, which is great, because continuing your insight, you know, spark of interest is far better than everything else he's currently got going on.
Mm-hmm. Pulley system then. I'll be right back. And he will push up off of the table, sort of with a slightly dramatic flap of his wings, swoosh up to the top level, landing on a support beam, walking across it over to where you know the loft is. And you hear kind of a bit of clunking and rattling around. And then there's an armchair being lowered from the ceiling.
Writing in style, I see. Well, all right. Just gonna approach it. Gonna take a look at the pulley system that's going on.
Yeah, so you approach. You're welcome to roll intelligence if you want to really understand this thing, but there's basically ropes connected to it which connect to a pulley system in the ceiling, and basically this is a means to bring people up to the nest if they really don't want to fuck with stairs.
Well, intelligence. So that'd be Craigory got a 13 on that intelligence.
And you can tell that, it's a pretty simple machine. You can tell that there's sort of a dock built up out of the loft that wasn't there the last time you were here. Where, you're apparently supposed to get on and off of the chair, and where the chair is likely stored when not in use. It's basically an elevator, essentially. But manually operated. You kind of look up and you can see sort of the gears of the crank that takes this thing up and down.
So you always need someone else to actually operate it. Well, yeah, he'll give it a whirl. He sits down.
And there's a moment of pause. Memoir kind of peeks over the edge of the dock, waves, and then that clunking, grinding gear sound again. Very, very steampunk, very clockwork, very much what you have come to associate with this boy's sounds.
The aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. And he reels you up. And when it gets to the top, he kind of grabs a couple of the ropes to stabilize it to let you hop off.
Which, he will, kind of gingerly.
Mm-hmm. The sort of platform that's built out is very solid. Once your feet are on solid ground, your feet are on solid ground.
Mm-hmm.
I just installed it, today. I didn't really have anything better to do, so I worked on this, because I realized mobility might be a bit of an issue in the future. Anyhow, he kind of pulls the chair into its waiting spot and kind of leads the way. This is sort of alongside the staircase.
Mm-hmm.
It gets out at the same place where the staircase landing is, so he is leading the way to the actual nest proper, opening up the hayloft doors to let some light in, or to let some air in, etc. but not all the way because, again, Craigory is cold.
Yeah. And like, I have to imagine the barn itself is a warm place with everything that's going on within it.
Yeah, no, there is a lot in here that's warm, especially because the furnaces were running today,
Yep.
and,
Furnaces, smelters, anything of that nature.
Memoir just keeps acquiring heavy machinery, and no one can exactly figure out how, but it sure does keep this place fucking toasty.
Yeah, it is like a comfortable level of toasty, and heat rises. So like the loft itself is extremely cozy, and
Mm-hmm.
honestly, opening up that door gives like a nice, refreshing breeze. Despite having now stepped into somewhere that's like very cozy, Craigory has not stopped, sort of arms wrapped around torso, hunching in on himself.
Memoir kind of gives like, that look people do where it's like the slight sigh but the sympathetic expression,
Mm-hmm.
and he will just kind of plop down in the absolute mess of pillows and blankets and pat the space across from him.
And Craigory will sit down slowly, and it's nice bunch soft of pillows. It's very good, very nice. And he's gonna sigh and actually speak for the first time. Sorry for coming out of nowhere. Just couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk.
Understandable. I mean, you came from somewhere, so there's nothing to apologize for. Because if you came from nowhere, you wouldn't have gotten here.
Well, I might be interrupting something, though.
I was just cleaning up, and friends are always welcome.
Hmm.
Besides, I told you the first time, remember? You're welcome to come here whenever you like. How bad is it?
Uh, Pretty bad.
Yeah?
Hmm.
I'd imagine, screaming the way you did.
Well, it got us out and they deserved it.
I didn't argue either of those.
Is what I this the feelings, the echo I sent over to Thrall, that is it normal for that to not leave?
Um, and
Like,
Memoir kind of hums and furrows his brow and kind of tries to think, and I don't know. I know what I would say if I were to scream like that, but I've never done it. But I can't imagine it would be normal, no. Um, is there any possibility it's interference?
yeah, potentially. Gets hard to tell what's me fixating and Thrall making things worse.
Hmm. Kind of a catch-22, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we in the business call a yikes. He kind of scratches at the back of his neck and looks you over and just, okay, is it physical sensation? Is it just the memories replaying? Is it nightmares? What are we working with? You don't have to tell me anything you're not comfortable with. Just
Craigory kind of grimaces and shrugs. kind of all of the above.
Oh, that's decidedly not good. How much did you send, Gregory?
Um, all of it?
Like, he
Or
kind of frowns, and all of all of your time with them, all of
no, you saw what happened to Gibbs.
mm-hmm.
Thrall before they got into experimenting with it, they were probably just cataloging, seeing how everything originally worked or was supposed to work. That's something they are interested in. So I sent over everything from when they did that with me.
Hmm. Hmm. Hey, Gregory, it's your turn to roll insight.
Oh boy! Disadvantage City, let's go. That is an 8.
Yeah,
Oh wait, no,
okay.
that's a 7. It's
That's
worse.
even worse.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, with a 7, what you get is there is an understanding that is a little too strong. Just what you can tell is Memoir gets what you're talking about and gets it to a level you didn't expect. But that's all you get with a fucking 7.
And that gets palpable and visible immediate concern from Craigory because, hey, what? No. No one should be able to relate to this. This is not something that people should be relating to. It's bad enough that someone happened to Gibbs. Like, what? No.
Don't worry. Wasn't physical on my end. That's a conversation for a different time. We're focusing on you right now. Um, he kind of clears his throat and said, "All right, so you sent them all of that, and I'm assuming, for lack of a better term, I'm assuming you popped off."
uh, yeah, it's probably a term for it. Just
As many details as you could recall, etc.
as much as I could all at once. And, which, thinking on it, a bit impressive because I've been working very hard not to think about any of that. And now I can't stop thinking about it.
And he kind of, when you say, "I've been working as hard as I can not to think about it," Memoir just kind of sighs and puts his head in his hand. It's like, yeah, no, that fucking explains it.
It didn't have a use until it was suddenly something to throw at Thrall.
Okay, on one hand, I get what you mean. On the other hand, the part of my brain that actually knows how this works knows that that's not how you're supposed to deal with traumatic experiences. Like, that, no wonder you're kind of stuck with it, dude. That, buddy, if you intentionally not process something and then shove it all through at once, well, stuff gets caught. Things get stuck. Like, imagine it like you have a hose, and on one end is you with sources of bad memories that have been building up because you have been dealing with them. And on the other end is, Thrall, the person you were screaming at. On one end of the line, yeah, you get a damn good amount of water pressure. That shit's gonna be like a fire hose when you fire it off. On the other hand, it's gonna be a bitch to try and turn off when you're done with it. Because it doesn't all come out at once. Christ,
Look,
I mean, obviously you're not okay.
no, I'm not. And in somewhat in my defense, I knew I'd have to deal with it eventually. I just couldn't deal with it then.
Right, and then
Couldn't.
yeah, no, understandable. It's still a raw injury, and then you went and ripped it open to scream at them, which I not criticizing you for. Valid, entirely valid. Would also do it in your position, did also do it in your position. Don't think about that too hard.
Craigory's thinking about it.
I found out this is not in character. Oh, I found out what happens when my brain is interfaced with Renesmee's. I can't fucking keep my mouth shut. Don't think about it too hard. Anyway. Okay, so now we do damage control. I start with information is probably helpful, yeah?
I guess I should know. I didn't come here just so that you could try to fix this. You're not a therapist. I just
No, but
ended up here, and you're my friend. I didn't want to be alone. Just
yeah, of course. And I'm always here if you need to talk. Sorry, I'm not the best at dealing with other people's emotions. I'm a restorationist. If I see someone is hurt, if I see something is wrong, if I see someone hurting something that's. I like fixing things. That's what I know how to do. I guess the question is, do you want me to try and fix, or do you want me to try and comfort? Because I can do either of those.
Craigory actually has
No,
to
if you
think
just
for a
need someone
moment.
to, if you just need someone to exist in the vicinity of that is also something I can do. I'm very good at just existing.
Maybe a bit of fix, since you're the expert in echo, and it's not the root cause of the problem, but it might help some things. But it's also not your job, and I'll be real. Potentially the most helpful thing is just something to keep me here and not in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I really get that. And he kind of reaches out, and the first thing he's going to do is grab a blanket and hold it out to Craigory because shock blanket.
Yeah, he'll take it, throw around his shoulders.
Okay, so you ripped open an injury that had stitches. Um, to some degree, you've put the stitches back in, but still bleeding, so band-aids, basically. That's the solution. And Memoir will kind of think and tap his lips for a second, kind of tilting his head back, looking at the ceiling, very much what do I know that I can use as a band-aid? And then just kind of shrug and say, do you want to see a memory of a time when I made a prosecutor cry?
I feel like that's something I'd want to see at any time. Hand does drift up to here. I did take out the I didn't want to accidentally start sending out my own brain to anyone else.
Entirely fair and entirely valid. I did wonder why your door was closed, but you know what? That makes sense. And he kind of shrugs and says, well, you're here, so conduits aren't entirely necessary. And he will hold out a hand.
And Craigie seems a bit nervous about it because, again, concern about brain leakage. But Memoir's the expert. Memoir can, keep a door closed, surely. So, takes it.
And you get basically the equivalent of someone telling a story, but through echo, of basically a very, very ridiculous court session where it took place in like a coastal town where everyone spoke entirely in dude bro surfer lingo.
Oh god.
And the prosecutor was just this really stuffy, suit and tie person who was just entirely out of their elements. So Memoir dove headfirst into using the bullshit surfer lingo to absolutely drive this man insane.
Beautiful.
To that point where it's like, that meme where it's, hey, you want a fucking bees burger? Please, I just want to see my family again.
Ingredients.
Chicken nugget. It's that. It's how are you making these sounds with your mouth? I don't know what that means.
The image in my head at halftime, is a Memoir wings out, T-posing in the air, chasing after that person in the hallway.
Yes.
Beautiful. Perfect. That does have Craigory laughing.
Hey, laughter is good. Laughter is the best medicine.
Exactly.
All right. Why don't you try to send me something? Send me the funniest story you can think of.
Definitely visible hesitance from Craigory, but he is going to think about it. Which means I'm going to think about it, because,
What is something goofy Craigory has done?
Quite frankly, there's a lot of goofy things. Let's see. He's got something. And he holds out a hand, just like, if I go off topic or something, just leave or whatever.
You go off topic, I'll try and pull you back, okay?
Don't bother trying to stay in there. That's not something you have to experience.
Too little too late on that front, but go ahead.
Okay, do we need to talk about you? Is that... Are you okay?
I'm fine. This is something I've been dealing with in my own way for a while. Uh, we can talk about it later if you really want to know, but for now we're focusing on unfucking your brain.
Doubtful look at Memoir, but holds out the hand.
You're welcome to roll insight if you don't believe him.
Well, you see, that's a 5.
A 5, as far as you can tell, he's genuine.
Which is concerning.
He genuinely does seem to be fine.
Big
Don't
sigh before
worry.
Memoir makes contact.
Huh?
Big sigh before Memoir makes contact. Just focus.
Memoir will take his hand.
And Memoir gets words in a correct grammatical English order, please. I need the correct sentence structure in my brain. Memoir gets treated to a story about the very unfortunate demise of one of Craigory's what's the word? Alchemy kits. Extremely unfortunate demise. And it kind of follows his perspective as he's looking, as he questions his beloved, adorable, darling daughter, Boomer, who looks at him with such big eyes and says, no, she's never seen that thing in her life, and follows his perspective as he then looks at Pip for confirmation. And Pip goes, yeah, no idea what happened. It follows his absolute detective sleuthing as he gathers clues from his lab, as he sneaks around his old Toontown flat and eavesdrops on the concerned whisperings of the other 2 residents. And it follows him uncovering the hidden alchemy kit, which had in fact been used to make ice cream sundaes, and therefore utterly ruined.
By the end of this, Memoir is almost doubled over wheezing.
And it kicks off with the ensuing chase that happens. Just absolute shenanigery around the... And I'm going to roll... What kind of role would it be for Craigory to keep focused on telling a story and not have anything other leak through? Con?
Probably wisdom.
Wisdom. That's fun. Okay, so that's a 12. It's kind of shaky at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end, Craigory's pretty into it. He's focused on this rather than anything else. This good memory.
Memoir is grinning at that. Just... oh my goodness, that... I mean, you know what? There are worse ways to lose an alchemy kit.
There are worse ways, but they tried to hide it from me, the scoundrels.
Absolute heathens. Traitors, the both of them.
Exactly.
Memoir's just giggling. Okay. My turn?
Yeah.
That was genuinely an ask. Just, do you want him to go, or would you like to share something else?
No, Craigory will motion for a Memoir. May as well do like a back and forth seas.
Mm-hmm. He will think for a minute, and okay, we've got funny. Funny is good for, immediate snap you onto the right track distraction. Um, hmm. He thinks for a minute and uh, then nods and holds out a hand again.
Craigory takes it.
And this time it is not just Memoir telling a story, it is seen through his eyes, just standing on the roof of the barn under full moonlight. It's a crisp, cold night. It's very peaceful. The air is breezy, not completely still, but not, you know, giant buffets of wind. It's a good night. It's a nice, peaceful, calm night. And it takes you through the feeling of just stretching and, stretching out wings, feeling the wind in your feathers, spreading your arms and your wings out wide, and then looking at the edge. Deep breath and just, all right, we've got this. We've got this. We can do this. A couple steps back on the roof, and then running, running towards that edge, shutting your eyes at the last minute so you don't see the edge when it comes, and then there is air under your feet, and you spread your wings as wide as they can go and push down, and you feel the air pushing against you, but it sends you shooting skyward, up, up, and up into the clouds. And you flap again and again, and you did it. You actually did it. You figured it out. You're flying. You open your eyes and you are gliding over the woods. Everything looks so small down below, and you you swoop down to where you can see the barn, and you do a circle around it. You hang your hand down to trail it through the petals of the poppies that are already slightly damp with the dew that forms before morning. And it is the most freeing, joyful experience you can think of. It feels incomprehensibly right.
Man. Craigory blinks out of that. And he looks kind of struck himself, because, like, that wasn't just, being told about it. That was feeling those sensations himself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
That was the first time I ever actually managed to fly. It
And how many crash landings led up to that?
so many. So many. I think there is forever going to be an imprint of my face in the dirt outside the barn. In the spot where I practice, there is going to be a Memoir face shaped dent forever.
Immortalize it in concrete or something. Make that art.
Ah, yes, fossilized.
Exactly. Will survive any
Here,
erasure.
I mean, this place did.
Wait. Really?
Mm-hmm.
By hold. He's looking around. By this place, do you mean the barn, or do you mean Halloween Town?
The barn.
What?
Yeah, look. And he will kind of lean over and point at the railing. where if you look closely, what looks from afar like wood grain is not. It is basically, when you draw on a piece of paper and you keep having to erase it and redraw and erase it and redraw, and eventually it's just not coming out. The eraser's not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you just make sketch lines on top of sketch lines on top of sketch lines.
Yep.
That's what makes up the wood grain of this place.
Oh, Craigory is looking. He is like nose to this wood grain.
Don't know how many erasures old it is, but yeah, it's been here a while. That's why the outside's all white.
That. Huh. And Krieger's just looking at everything now more with a far sharper eye. Just, that. Okay, makes sense that buildings in general would be more resilient to an erasure event. They're, I mean, exception of network and car, they're not toons, they're not living, they wouldn't be affected as much. That's still, and more than one potentially.
Potentially. Incredibly likely if, that's anything to go by.
Was the barn empty? Was there anything left in here?
No, not much. I came in here and it was mostly cobwebs by the time I got here. Cobwebs and old leaves. I think I found a bag of marshmallows at one point. But yeah, no, other than an inexplicable bag of marshmallows from recent but not too recent times, it was fairly empty. It was honestly kind of sad. I got here and was falling apart. The roof was starting to come in. I was astounded that it had lasted as long as it did, but he kind of looks up at the ceiling and pulls his knees to his chest and smiles and says, I got some help. Phasmus came and helped me pull the place together. We worked on it for weekend after weekend whenever I was in town and whenever whenever it was free. And we worked together and, well, ta-da! I figured it was fine for me to stay here, given obviously no one else had for ages.
Yeah, it's just kind of astounding it did last when I know the measures the Thrall takes to preserve their archive are extensive for surviving exactly the same thing.
I think it might be it might be a difference in means of preservation. I mean, the things that are fossilized in dirt are very different from things that are fossilized in, say, amber or ice. Maybe something that is preserved from erasure through magic or through intellectual means is different than something that is preserved simply by the will to continue existing. I don't think this place is awake. It's certainly not awake in the same way that that network is or that the town is, but it wants to be here, I think.
Huh.
I think whoever made this place originally, they made it with a lot of love, and well, there's a reason that stories say true love is one of the most powerful things in the world.
Well, it seems like you're putting such a place to excellent use then.
Sure hope so. I like being here. It's comfy. It feels. He kind of raises a hand and waves it around and will, in echo out loud, say, basically what he's trying to come up with the words for but doesn't. Essentially an emotion of it just being resonant. It clicks well. It feels like the right place to be.
Yeah. I know you're good at what you do. Just carefully don't end up doing what I did and accidentally. I kind of destroyed the equivalent of my barn in the woods. That. Oof.
Hmm.
There's a lot of notes, books, and kind of memories that got lost in there.
Hmm. Emmer's going to blink and then kind of tilt his head. And he kind of gets a slightly far away look in his eyes for a second and mutters something under his breath of, I don't know, I've never tried that before. I mean, it might work. Could it work? I mean, theoretically, maybe. Hang on, let me try something.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know what I would roll for this mechanic, but
Arcana?
maybe it's like
History?
basically what he's trying to do is use Renesmee's hammer space to pull something that maybe Craigory might have lost. So it's like a combination Arcana, history, and hammer space.
God. Yeah, that's a hell of a roll to construct, so I'd say maybe roll hammer space just to make sure it isn't a fumble, and then an arcana or history to see if it works. Maybe that's the way to go, or maybe the other way around even.
Doesn't fumble. And then, which is better, Arcana or history? Arcana is better. That's a 23.
Hot damn.
So he kind of wince and does the whole, finger snap thing that he does to summon items from his hammer space usually. Memory's magic is red, right?
Craigory's, yes. Red and kind of like translucent pixely squares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's something you might notice. When Memoir summons items from hammer space, usually the edges of sort of the white silhouette that's burned into existence before the item just falls out of the void are usually, dark brown to black in color and edged with, the gold of burning film. Not the case this time. It actually looks very similar to Craigory's magic, except instead of squares for sort of the pixel effect, it's circles and lines in the same way as Memoir's written Echo. And what's something Craigory might have had in ye olde wizard hut that might have gotten lost that might have been important?
That's what I've been trying to think through with this whole thing. It's like, what sort of thing?
What would be like a comfort thing? Or something, maybe something that had the strongest memories of anything in that house.
Yeah, strongest memories are a good route to go considering Memoirs everything.
Considering Memoirs, memoirness.
Yeah. Yeah, Memoir summons a memento. Honestly, I think then it'll have to be some kind of stuffed animal. Something Henrik actually made. Kind of one of the few sort of childhood concessions they ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm trying to think of what kind of thing it would be. Yeah, the peanut gallery is right. It's a... Considering it's a deer and antlers get kind of complicated, it's not quite a little thing. It might have been somewhat comically big in a very tiny Craigory's arms, but it's a stuffed deer. It's a stuffed animal.
And, you see the silhouette of it appear, and then, whoosh, that is now a something that is in existence that should not be able to, but there it be.
Yeah, Craigory's eyes have gone, wide. He's got... How did you get... What? Memoir, how did you get that?
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to if I was anyone else right now. Ah, that fucking smarts. Ow. I'm good.
Aren't you... Craigory's not quite reached out for the stuffed animal because he's having a bit of trouble believing it's real.
Memoir will just kind of gently nudge it forward into his arms.
And he kind of takes it and shakes it a little bit because it looks like his childhood stuffed deer. It feels like his childhood stuffed. It has like the same weight as he remembers it. There's the same sort of worn patches. He like turns it upside down, and there's that like fixed patch. There's some of those fixed patches he did over the years, and like, what? This thing was in Wizard Hut when Gelosity first spawned and started eating everything. This thing, logically, you would think, got utterly destroyed, and yet here it is.
Here it be. In the background, Memoir does like reach into his pocket, pull out a semi-clean rag from doing machine shit all day, and just holds it to his nose to clean up a bit of a nosebleed. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna roll perception to see if Craigory even notices that, because he's too busy having his brain broke. Okay, yeah, I think a 13 might just do it unless Memoir's actively hiding that.
You know what? Just for the fun of it, let's roll sleight of hand. That's a 14.
God. Craigory almost catches it, but Memoir is quick on the uptake.
Yep.
And Kroger actually kind of as like a final inspection kind of like gives it a sniff, because fun fact, one of the strongest triggers of memory can in fact be sense of smell. And yeah, not only does this smell like Lileen, his little stuffed deer, it smells like Wizard Hut. So now he is just clutching this thing to him, and God, he might almost be crying.
Oh shoot.
Like, this has unlocked some memories. Have you... How did you have her?
I, well, I did and I didn't. I didn't. Or, the, the me you're talking to, that you think you're talking, it's fucking complicated. Don't think about it too much, does it? The, I didn't have her here, but there, I pulled on memories and called out for an item that loved you the most, and that was what came through.
I get your magic and pact is to do with sort of time, but holy peck, Memoir.
Like I said, if I were anyone else, I probably couldn't do it.
I'm gonna have Craigory roll an insight just because, like, if he rolls low, he'll just take that and he's like, if I wasn't Memoir Alejo. Versus.
I do think it would be really funny. Like, I have a line in mind for if he manages to drag this out of Memoir, so go ahead and ignore disadvantage this time because, I mean, he has kind of accidentally made mention several times at this point.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? We'll take a 17 insight.
Okay. Yeah, 17, that works.
So Memoir says that if I wasn't who I am right now, and Craigory's gonna giving him a long look, says, and who is that?
I'm not gonna get out of this without explaining myself, am I?
Holds Lillian a little tighter, and there's like a squeak. There's a squeaker somewhere in there.
Oh my goodness.
No, actually, you're not.
Yikes. Okay. So what is the easiest way to say this? He kind of taps his fingers together, like, you know, there's very clearly the instinct to clap, but also the instinct to not make a sudden loud noise. Deep breath, and then just, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Memoir Alejo, but currently my name is also Renesmee Danthew.
Squinting?
It's
So, two people at what?
yes, but also no. I I am still one person because all of the other versions of me that I can be are still me. I am still all one person. I am still solid. I never split, if that makes sense. But my perspective is highly variable. And sometimes I am purely Memoir Alejo. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes, well, the other day I wasn't me, I was Chrono Clockworks. Today I am not Memoir Alejo wholly, I am at least partially Renesmee Danthew. It's a mess. I'm a mess. Don't worry about it. I have it 90% under control, and it's not gonna fuck with my head too much.
With that 17 insight, could we make the argument that Craigory can think back to when he first properly met Memoir.
Absolutely.
You think about it, like, he attributed a lot of Memoir's, disconnectedness, spaciness to, he was still under the effects of some fucking poison.
Mm-hmm.
And recovering from his own stay withdrawal. But with this face, she's, and do you remember who you were the first time you took me here?
Well, congratulations. You were the last person who ever saw the real Leffy Beckford alive.
What? What? Memoir, can you really quickly just please elaborate on that so that, that... I feel like there might be a less concerning way to say that, potentially.
Yeah,
Unless you say what you mean, in which case I should be What?
He kind of sighs and rests his head on his hand and looks at Craigory and says, "You know, we were supposed to be talking about your shit tonight, but I guess this is comeuppance."
Oh, trust me, I'm very distracted from my shit right now. Hello?
I I wasn't messed with, I wasn't tinkered with when I was with Thrall. They never took me apart, put me back together. They never touched me. Never more than they had to anyway. But I got stuck. I was in a position where I was halfway between alive and dead, and they controlled what side of the door I was on. And that fucks with your head. And he kind of sighs and laughs and says, "They pushed a lot of information into me. They gave me a lot that I had to process and then made me give it back to them over and over and over again. And it split my head really, really badly. Like, it never physically fractured me, but like I said, highly variable perspective, that's a relatively new thing." And I I was someone different before all that. Part of it is just, hi, I found out I'm transgender. That's cool. But also, I didn't used to be Memoir Beckford. Or Memoir Alejo. I used to be a girl called Lethy Beckford. And you probably know this because you guys came to get me before my transition, but I don't think that part of me ever left Manor. Or I think she did, but
I
she died here.
I get that. I do. It definitely sometimes feels like the Craigory Danthew that was died on an operating table.
So sorry. It's a terrible thing to go through.
Yeah. I mean, same to you. It's your mind got messed with, as you've been describing that. To me, that might almost be worse, not being able to trust your own mind or perceptions. That's scary.
Yeah, and it's not a matter of trust. I, oh, you kind of wrinkles his nose. It's not a matter of trust with all of them. Most of them are fairly tolerable. Chrono makes it hard to talk. I make it hard to keep my mouth shut. Uh, Del Rio makes it hard to fully trust people sometimes. Jesus Christ, Lynn is a paranoid fuck. But it's manageable because it's all me. That's how I've handled it. Is yeah, it's weird and confusing and fucky, and dear God, don't think about it too hard because it will give you a migraine. But you know what? It comes in handy sometimes, and it's not as bad and scary as it seems at first. It's not great, and obviously, if I had the option to let my flock keep their secrets and not pry into people's memories uninvited and be wholly and entirely one person, I would take it. But for not having other options to go with, it works.
So you're doing all right then for now?
I'm doing all right for now. What about you?
I'm better for having had a laugh and for you having given me something to puzzle over. Um, can I ask questions about this? Is that
I don't mind answering. Fair warning, you might not like some of the answers you get, but I'll be honest.
if I'm out of line, just say so at any point.
Yeah.
So when you say there's a Renesmee Danthew, is that like I somewhere have a brother, or I don't exist?
Neither nor. He kind of shakes his head, and it's the perspective Renesmee exists from sees the two of us swap places. Um, if I am you, then contrariwise, you are me. So in the universe where Renesmee Danthew exists, there's also a Craigory Beckford who came into existence uh, over a murder scene in Halloween Town.
God, could you imagine me as a lawyer?
I don't know. You seem to do better at it than I think you'd give yourself credit for. You're definitely more of a bunny ears lawyer than me, though.
I was
Which, to be
thinking more of the
fair,
fact that I don't particularly much like can you win cases by crying? Is that something?
Memoir will just kind of burst out laughing at that. Just, oh, come on, give yourself some credit. You have a good deal of composure there.
I'll take your word for it. The logic, yes, the sort of solving things, but I don't know if it's in a lawyer's job to kind of play detective. But
It winds up being part of the job. And Memoir just has this very tired look on his face. This man has been in too many Ace Attorney plots.
yeah, I know, right? I didn't think it was in a lawyer's job description to play the detective. In Ace Attorney, you're all the jobs.
Memoir just looking like he desperately needs, the detective cup of whiskey. Just, it's not supposed to be. But yeah, no, you still exist. Admittedly, you're a bit different. Uh, a lot sunnier. But that might just be alternative experience. Um, but yeah, no, you exist. We both exist.
That's weirdly comforting to know, thank you. Huh. And Craigory just kind of leans back, still the big stuffed deer in his arms.
Fucking adorable.
Yeah. This is going directly in his hammer space table. He's keeping this like, oh man.
Memoir is happy that he could get that back for Craigory. Just it's important to have items that love you.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry then, I guess, that any version of you has ever had to deal with my Dama. Yikes.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I did get to call them a bitch to their face.
And he actually grins. It's like, well, good. Better than what I kind of managed. I should have just punched them the first time I saw them.
It's hard when it's someone who should have cared about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to call them a bitch, but hey, I had the advantage of not technically being their kid.
That may help, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Craigory's going to decide to himself that he's going to actually kind of slow down or stop in this line of questioning because, like, maybe not so tactful to keep focusing on a different universe. And also, part of his problem is that he's having trouble staying here. He'd rather not accidentally launch Memoir into somewhere that isn't here.
I mean, listen, I'm being nice to Memoir and not making him roll the wisdom save that he should have after that hammer space stunt.
Yeah. So, if all that's often going on in the background,
Always.
Always. How do you stay here?
Well, for one thing, grounding wires. And he will reach up to the black ribbon around his neck and specifically to the silver ring strung onto it. This was a gift my dad gave me to keep me here and now. This only exists in this version of, in this perspective. Only Memoir Alejo has this ring. and it's not the same, but if you could find something that you could have on you that only the you that is only the you that is here and now has, that you could keep on you, I find that's often very helpful, of just having something to touch bases with. Um,
Yeah.
this one might not be the best for you, but I write things down, and I write things down a lot.
Maybe, given enough time to distance myself. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I'd been heading for before I kind of ripped open the can of worms.
Yeah, you really just looked at, a 3-inch deep stab wound and decided, what would be funny if I just took all of these stitches out and let this gush blood everywhere.
I just thought if Thrall was going to make this a habit, they should know how it feels.
Which, what, entirely fair and valid. It
Besides,
just shouldn't come at the expense of your well-being.
didn't know how else to
It's
do it, didn't know how else it would get across. And besides, I don't intend to be bleeding anywhere, so.
well, that's good. We prefer
Blood on the inside, that's
we
where it's supposed to be.
yeah, we we prefer all the red to be either inside of you or in your magic. Not on the outside of you. That is what we in the business, I'm not a medical professional, but we in the business would call that a fucking problem.
Internal bleeding only.
Ideally, not even that.
Yeah.
Ideally, no bleeding. No bleeding is good.
No
Can
bleeding
can we do
is.
no bleeding?
Yeah. No, I very much agree. No bleeding. Never. Mm-mm. No more.
Bleeding sucks. Like 0 out of 10 would not recommend.
Yeah. Agreed. Your your grounding wire. I was something like that was working for a long time, like grounding exercises
Mm-hmm.
in early when things got overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Good for confirming that I was here and not there. It hasn't been working so good the last 24 hours when the whole point of Echo is that you re-experience everything
Yeah,
in the moment.
it's
And the
and you did like a month or two in the space of 2.5 seconds.
it's not quite that dire. It was more like 2 days in the space of 2 seconds.
Still not great. That is a lot of time to compress into a very small space.
Yeah, a lot in intense, and it hasn't been working too great on the nightmare side
Mm.
either.
Memoir kind of thinks for a minute, and
For
then
now.
like he pulls a pencil out of his pocket and starts chewing on the end of it, thinking. And from the look of this pencil, you can see that this is the designated chew to think pencil.
Little teeth marks all over it.
Yeah, just the entire end of it where the eraser is just, there is no longer paint. There is no longer a coating on this pencil. It has all been bitten off. I might have a potential solution.
All right.
Don't know. Might have a potential solution. I don't know how well it can work on nightmares. Maybe if you kept it close while you slept, but and he will kind of start pulling bits of glass and wires out of his pocket, and an emotion familiar to others but possibly not familiar to Craigory start kind of weaving with the wires and with the glass and shaping it into something. You can't really tell what yet.
He's
And he
watching
kind of
this.
thinks for a minute and
He's watching this.
my grounding wire works for me because it's a solid affirmation of where I am, but that's not necessarily the problem here. The problem is an overload of negative memory-based stimuli, and the easiest way to snap out of that is with strong positive stimuli. That's, the whole purpose of trying to make you laugh, aside from, you are Flock and we take care of Flock and make Flock laugh. But he kind of thinks and frowns and fills with whatever it is that he's got in his hands. If theoretically you had something with touchstones that were charged with high strength positive memories, or even just with your own positive energy, that could bring up positive memories in favor of negative memories, that could be enough to snap you out of it if you start going under again.
It's worth a try.
I'm not sure how well it would work, but everything's worth a try at least once. And if it doesn't work, back to the drawing board and refine the process. It is at least partially my fault that you are in this situation, so I am going to help.
What? No, Memoir. No, of course it's not your fault. What?
Who taught you Echo?
Yeah, and I already had a sort of pact link thing with Thrall going. I would have just ended up... It would have had to have been in words. I would ended up doing something very similar. He's not going to mention that Thrall would not have been nearly as furious with him in that scenario versus specifically slinging Echo at them.
To which Memoir will kind of look at him and raise an eyebrow and say, they hate Echo.
They do hate Echo.
I know this even without being in your head, dude. Trust me. When we first met, I tried to apologize to them for something because I recognized that they were feeling a form of grief about something, and I tried to, comfort them, and I spoke out loud in Echo because I was, that's my first language. It's what I go to. And they acted like I had just killed their dog.
Craigory, he had already snorted at the feeling grief. He, snorts loudly at that.
Yeah, not my best moment.
No, I think you did great, personally. Good. I know it was not your intention, but...
Hindsight. And he will kind of finish with whatever he was working on, and that whatever he was working on turns out to be a sort of bracelet. It has one larger clear piece of glass set into sort of the middle of the band, and then several small fragments of what almost look like mirror set into other spirals of the glass. Okay, so if I've done this right, and it should have been done right because I wasn't paying attention, and that's the easiest way to do it right, is to let muscle memory take over. Each of these little mirrors should be able to be charged with a positive memory, something bright, something positive, something that cheers you up or comforts you or makes you laugh. And as a bonus, he taps the clear centerpiece. This works in a very similar manner to that earring I gave you.
All right.
And he will hold that out to Craigory.
Craigory will take it and look it over. And Memoir, you want to run another insight just for fun?
We love insight in this house.
We do. Remember, you're still having advantage.
I swear I am not making this up.
Did you get another nat 20? Yeah!
Yes. I made him to be good at this, but I didn't expect him to be this good.
Damn. And there's no deceptions or whatever. He's not really thinking hide this as he's looking it over. Memoir, you were running through your explanation and also handing this over, and Craigory took it. And he's like looking it over, just not in like necessarily a critical way, but just sort of examining and checking it out. Memoir, you get the very distinct. You pick up the very distinct sensation that Craigory does not actually like mirrors or his reflection much, specifically his own reflection. So mirrors are an interesting choice, but
the mirrors
not
are
a bad
small
one.
enough that
they're small enough. B, they're serving a completely different purpose. So if you pick that up, but he's also just plain intrigued and maybe a little happy that giving a different context connotation might have a hidden benefit that Memoir wasn't even thinking or knew about. Craiger's general strategy to things is just, oh, there's a bad thing, I'm just gonna keep on going at it till I've recontextualized it to be not that. Yeah.
Exposure therapy.
He's a fan of it. A lot of people aren't a fan of him doing that for himself. Unsupervised.
Memoir does kind of, internalize that knowledge. That could be something to look out for later, but for now, it doesn't seem to super be a problem.
Nah, it's not a problem. It's more just, that's a fun little tidbit of info that Memoir's picked up.
Yay,
Memoir might notice
anything.
in the future, or may even remember some instances now. If there's ever like reflective surfaces around, Craigory does not look at himself.
I mean, hey, spectrophobia, buddies. He's not going to bring that up. He's just going to, okay, you're like me in that regard. Cool.
Yeah, Memoir just has that information now.
That's information I have.
And Craigory's going to slip on the bracelet, try for fit, and of course it fits perfectly.
Of course it does. Memoir knows his shit.
Exactly.
It's not super tight, but it's, obviously not going to fall off.
It'll stay
either.
on. Thank you.
And, despite it being made of, woven wires, it is, flexible enough that if you bend your wrist isn't going to get caught on it, because that's something that always drove me crazy about bangle-type bracelets. Is, you'd try to bend your wrist, and it would just get stuck. Very annoying.
Yeah.
This doesn't do that.
Thank you. Do I always just keep calling you Memoir?
Hmm. Tell me whatever feels most comfortable.
Craigory
If
makes a face that's very much. He wanted to find out what made Memoir comfortable. Damn it. What about
I
pronouns? Does that ever change?
no, pronouns always he him. No, occasionally they them, but if I'm they them, you need to run.
Uh,
Let me rephrase. If I'm they them, you won't be interacting with me because I will be hiding. That doesn't make that sound any less concerning. I am
no,
sorry.
no, no, it does. No, it does not.
How do I put this in the gentlest way possible? There are 7 of us, and it's an 8-way split.
Okay, right. Does that happen often?
No. I That one is called Strex. And I don't like them. None of us like them. They're we don't I am not them often. I I can count the amount of times I have been unlucky enough to be them on one hand without using my thumbs. It's been twice, I think. And never enough that it impacts the way I interact with others. It's you know those impulsive thoughts that you get occasionally where like you'll be cooking something or you'll be working with a knife in a kitchen and then you'll just get the unceremonious thought of, hey, you should cut off your finger. And you have to set the knife down for a minute because no, we're not doing that. Or, when you're on a wagon and you just get the impulsive desire to throw yourself off the side before you pull yourself together, that's Strex. They are very intrusive thoughts.
Craigory's nodding like this. He can relate to that enough that it makes sense. Because yes, the way Memoir's putting it is still kind of alarming sounding, but who hasn't been standing on a balcony going like, man, if I stepped off of here, I would probably just fall and spawn on the ground, but like, what if I flew? Man, that's a thought. Man. I'm not going to step off the balcony, but I'm thinking about it.
The thing about Strex is they are me at my worst but worse. Which means that they really, really like fixing things. Means if I keep them busy, they are not dangerous. If when I am them, I find a project that keeps me from looking at people and wanting to fix, then things are fine.
All right.
But sorry, that was a concerning tangent. Pronouns, no. As far as anyone's concerned, I am always he, him.
All right. And just so I'm clear on this and I don't actually say anything stupid, does anybody else know about this, or is this complete total hush-hush everywhere all the time?
Lynn knows. Lynn knows. I don't tell people often. I try to, I'll tell people if they ask, and I'll admit to it if I have trouble keeping my mouth shut, which this might be a problem, being this me, might be a problem because apparently it gives me a nasty case of motor mouth. But I try not to tell people, not because, I'm scared anyone's going to react poorly, but have you ever had somebody say, "Oh, I completely understand what you're going through," when they have absolutely no fucking idea, and it just makes you feel frustrated and insulted?
Craigory makes a face.
Yeah, I don't want to cause that reaction.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
hope this has gone okay then.
you know what? You didn't immediately, close up and start assuming that I was trying to lay claim to experiences I did not have, so A plus.
Good. I love having a good grade in reaction. A normal thing to want and possible to achieve.
Entirely normal and entirely possible. Yes, absolutely. I hmm. He kind of frowns, and I've never had it get bad enough that I don't recognize where I am yet. Um, if that happens, you know, that would be when I wind up going by a different name. If I were doing particularly bad, I might eventually get frustrated and ask, "Who the hell is Memoir?" That's not my name, even though it is. I don't like thinking about it. That's a headache. But I, Lynn knows. You're welcome to compare notes, I guess. Lynn is Lynn is very easy to talk to and very fucking perceptive.
uh, yeah. True.
I don't think I could have hidden it from her, but it's not a huge secret, but also, maybe don't go telling everyone.
I'm just gonna go ahead and treat it like one anyway. Like my lips are sealed.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And for what it's worth, the things I know that maybe you'd prefer no one did are between you and me.
Yeah. That's it's appreciated.
Sorry, that's the simplest way I knew how to put it.
Yeah.
I
I'm
won't tell anyone anything without your permission.
yeah. And
Mm.
same to you on this topic. We can yeah. Craiger's now thinking back to earlier comments about Memoir sympathizing or seeming to know about what he was talking about with what's in his head currently. I'm sorry you have to know.
It's not your fault.
I I don't want anyone to have to know. That's kind of why things got so bottled up in the first place.
Well, then maybe something good comes out of this because now you know if you need someone who gets it a little too well. Hi, I'm right here.
Gregory's been fiddling with the bracelet this whole time, and I think he's been starting to put a few sensations, memories, feelings into each shard of mirror. Can Can I ask a favor of you then?
Sure.
Just, could I try sleeping here, getting something of an actual rest?
Of course.
It's just the nest is very soft, and I can pile things that I'm not necessarily fully reclining, and if it gets bad anyway, could you wake me up?
Of course.
Thanks.
If it helps, I'll stay right here, or I'll be keeping an ear out.
Whichever's good for you. Like, I don't want to monopolize your time or sleep. Craigory peeks outside the barred windows. Because good God, the time.
Craigory, I have nothing but time. I'm made of time. I can spare some for you. Always.
If you're sure.
And besides, no offense, you look like shit. You really need sleep.
Trust me, I have been trying, and maybe it's been long enough now that Thrall will have gotten tired of interrupting that.
You know what? If they try and give you trouble, I will keep an ear out through Echo, and if they try and give you trouble, I will smack them.
What? Memoir, no, like, that's part of what got me here in the first place, using Echo on Thrall. Don't do that.
I have better resistance. But seriously, I don't know, play soothing clockwork sounds in your head until they get drowned out.
Just be safe about it if you're going to do that, all right?
Of course.
Thank you.
No problem. And he will just kind of lean back against the railing and clap his hands, and some of the lanterns over the nest dim. They're not completely out, but like it's dark enough to sleep.
Yeah, Craigory had been like, if the lamps were going, Craigory would have asked for some light to be going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Basically,
it's
as
not
long
like
as he
any
can
of them...
see when he opens his eyes, that's all right.
Yeah, it's not like any of them completely go out. It's more like they've been shuttered, if that makes any sense. Like a little bit of light comes through in basically holes that have been poked in the lantern sort of walls that send sort of dots and swirls painting across the walls in sort of that warm orangey yellow light that is Memoir's magic, but it's dark enough to sleep, bright enough that there's a nightlight, let's put it that way.
Perfect. Excellent. And considering how fucking exhausted Craigory is, once he decides to try and settle back and, like, you know, props up some pillows so he's, like, more sitting up sleeping rather than lying down, still got the shock blanket, still got, like, a stuffed deer, he's out.
Mans is out like a fucking light.
Yep. I think between all this, he will get his first decent functional sleep at minimum for the first time. Honestly, probably since the beginning of the week, because things have been crazy ever since Gibbs was initially declared missing. So it's been a solid week, and the last day in particular, Craigory's gotten no rest.
Now he is getting the fucking sleep he deserves.
He's getting the fucking sleep he deserves.
Get this man a fucking nap.
And I guess, yeah, true to Memoir's word, if needed, he's stepping in.
If needed, he will step in.
And I think that's all I've got, unless you've got anything to close out on.
No, that's everything.
Man. All right. That's been Echo Chamber. Thank you for playing with me.
Thank you for playing with me. I am sorry for all of the lore.
Are you kidding me? This is great. Memoir lore revealed at large.
Memoir and Craigory lore.
Uh-huh.
Craigory gets a stuffed animal back. Yay!
Yay! Alright, I'm gonna stop my recording. Thank you for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Whoop whoop.